What a great day. Another hour where we unlock ourselves from the prison of preoccupation. It's a time again when we welcome every one of you who are consistent and who consistently seek truth, not solution. I know when era where solution is being sought, like we seeking the effect and not finding the cause. So in here we find the truth that liberates us. So what we do in this corner is to challenge status quo. It means that if you've been one way in life, isn't there another way you can change? I know there's a way that seems right unto a man. Most of the time we need to do a reversal thinking, a reversal vision, a reversal gratitude, a reversal belief system to find another course of life, because the life is too big, it's too massive. When we talk about abundance, it means that it's inexhaustible, like an ocean that never dry. So we see when we seek the truth, we have a formidable, strong base where our faith and our trust are amplified. But solution is like a vapor, because solution seems to be like an end of the process. But if you seek the truth, you will realize that functionally you will be strong, you'll be courageous, but there will be such an inner connection that give you a robust mind, that give you that firmness and the audacity to do life and not life do you. As we consistently stay on this channel, please follow us, like us, share, invite people to be part of this. I'm excited because not only do we challenge status quo, we redefine standard. And I want to stay here a little bit. You see, standardization is the difference between the successful and the unsuccessful. Standardization is what brings people from sustainability. People live either in survival mode or in sustainable mode. And to live a very decent, sustainable, whether business, whether it's a person, on your personal level, on a state level, on a national level, it's a standardization. Raising standard is what gives you advancement, is what makes the difference. If you go to a company and another company, how they progress, how they advance, how they increase is a function of standard. Your life will never improve until the standard of the life improves. I read a very profound scripture. It said, when the enemy comes like a flood, when you live in littleness, when you live in complaint, when you live in doubt, when you live in consistent worry, when anxiety preoccupied you, overwhelmed you, if you're living an overwhelming life, the only way you can overcome it is to still change the standard that produces after that. If you have a poor standard of life, you will experience a reward or expression of poor harvest. If you have a good standard of life, who knows, average. If you have an excellent standard, you might get good. But there's what I call the extraordinary standard. These are where you go extra mile. That's the difference between the 5 virgins. They were all wise. But what differentiated both the wise and probably what we call them wise is standard. The wise brought in standard because you see their standard underscored what was available. because their standard cannot change. They had a standard of extra mile contribution. So they recognize who they are, realize their potential. They realize they were co-creators, and they realize that it is their responsibility, and their relationship with what was given to them, or the assignment was given to them, just propelled them into utilizing their standard that shaped their new reality. You cannot operate on the same standard of life in relationship. I mean, really, check about your relationship. If you're having a poor relationship, go and check the operating standard. If you want to change the experience, modify the standard. The standard will dictate the experience. So that's why I say, when the enemy comes like a flood, the Spirit of God will raise the standard. That means that if you don't raise your standard in your life, you remain underutilized. You remain under. And that's why we constantly said we redefine standard in order to redefine our life, redefine our experiences. You see, that's why if you are on level of attachment, until you redefine the attachment level, then you will continue to live in disappointment, because what attachment does is to create tension, because attachment means like you are being used by event, you are being used by circumstance, you are being used by people, you are being used by habits. You know, people are attached to a certain habit, and that means that habit is using you instead of you using the habit. That's a poor state of attachment. That's a poor state of attachment. In fact, if you are easily irritated, if you are in that flow of anger, if you're in that place of whining and complaining and murmuring, in doubt and in fear, and all those negative energies, it means there's an attachment, there's a standard of attachment that is creating a control and friction. You know, when people said they talk about their mental clarity cannot stand, or you can't gain mental clarity until you state a standard of your mental construct. What I mean, like the state of your mind would determine the standard. You know, that the standard of your mind would determine the standard of your life. And if you are always overwhelmed, you have not created a structure of standard that governs and regulates. You know, we'll talk about emotional regulation or speech regulation or life regulation, even sense regulation. What will create that? It's just like somebody wants to be disciplined. You can't be disciplined until you have self-control. You can't have self-control until you have standard with which the self-control will regulate the self-control. Otherwise, what are you controlling? And so people are struggling with discipline in any part of your life that you're struggling. If you cross-check it, do some deeper reflection, relax, and have a detour from the usual path that you're taking, and do a deeper reflection and connect to your inner self and connect to your value. And when you do an introspection, you realize that you have no standard. And when there's no standard, your mental life is porous, because anything can go inside it. And so when you hear that, guard your heart, for out of it are the issues, what it means, set a standard of which to filter, with which to regulate, with which to help you in your life. So you talk about increasing. You see, when people do not have a great standard of gratitude, what it does that you become an ingratitude means that you live underneath yourself. See, let me pause here to tell you, if you don't have a standard, you're living a loose life. And it shows. It shows from your dressing, it shows from your speech, it shows from your relationship, it shows from your office expression, it shows it's everywhere. You just know that people do not, anybody that do not have standard, you will show it. There's inconsistency, there's inconsideration, there's no reasonable, there's no measurement. And this is, and that is why when a nation, a state, a family do not procure their own standard, they will buy into other standard. And that standard is not their authentic, does not align to their authentic self. So they struggle. And when they struggle, because they do not have the energetic disposition and their mental formation to be able to push it, you struggle. And that's why you see, when somebody compare himself to another person, you don't understand the standard they're operating, but you want to attain what they have achieved. It can't work because they have carefully and intentionally and mindfully created block of standard with which governs their life, and that's what is happening. The difference between two people who receive a grant and in a space of a time, you see that their grant is producing more grant and the other person is decaying. If you look at the person who decay, they stumbled into the ground without a structure of standard with which to lay the process of creativity. Standardization will just determine your creative capability. Yeah, and when you don't have a standard, you don't measure your present. The present matters. I mean, one day I walked into a particular gentleman office, and I think I did something that was outside my standard. He just called me and said, "Patrick, this is not your standard." I didn't even know that people watches you and weigh you in your standard that you have consciously or unconsciously created. And if you don't know that, if you're living a life unconsciously, it's better you begin to find out your standard. And that's why we say redefining standard. I'm sure somebody is helped in this as well. And what we do here is to bring you into goodness. When we say we dwell in goodness, that means that your faculties are immersed in goodness, like a good tree. A good tree will produce after its kind. If you're not producing a good fruit, don't worry about it. There's a cost to it. Go back and say, where do I dwell in? If you dwell in, so this is how life is run. Life is run through hate or love. Now, hate is a function of smallness. It's a function of imprisonment. It's a function of a preoccupation. It's a function of lack. It's a function of lack of sense and lack of self-acceptance. So you see, the flow of hate is something that you need to check. They are destructive energy unless the hate has been converted or been transformed as a method to advance a cause that align to universal optimism and mercy. So we are on that part where we're talking about preoccupation, and this will be our last section on this. If you have any comments, drop it. DM us, we could have a discussion. Because what we intend to do is to find the truth. The truth will bring you liberty. Thou shalt know the truth, and the truth that you know will give you freedom. And if you are not free, you mean you are preoccupied. Because you see, when your life is characterized by doubt, when your life is characterized by doubt, if you have self-doubt, you are indecisive in your decision, you are afraid to take a decision, what is happening is that you're preoccupied consciously, unconsciously by a concept or by an preferences. So we're going to be breaking down today what we intend to talk about. That's our final thing of our preoccupation will be the preoccupation of belief. The preoccupation of belief. I will delve into that a bit so that when we have understanding, especially when it comes to relationship, whether relationship to your God, to whatever you believe, essentially to yourself and others, belief is central. How you're going to function in your new years will be the kind of belief you have acquired or you have access to. We will talk about the preoccupation of expectation. I mean, we talked about expectation is a trap. And then we're going to talk about the preoccupation of outcome. Outcome. I think this one is a killer. And the final one, the preoccupation. In fact, it's called the prison of preferences. They are topics that we want to be able to not dilute or devalue, but critically look at them from a different lens of life. And so I want you to open up your heart. I want you to immerse yourself, like you're water, having no form, like you are a baby, having no idea. So you have a pure intent, pure concept, pure everything. You're just pure, and what we call the beginner's mind. So erase your mind. Erase your mind. Behave like you don't know. Behave like you don't even know me. Because when you judge me, you are preoccupied by what you think you know about me. So have an open mind today. Let's have a discussion. Maybe it's going to unleash you and unlock you from every form of pain, from every point of worry, irritation, concern, discouragement, unprogressive life, unproductive life, low self-esteem, low in finances, all kinds of things. How will you feel? How will you feel really when you are living a life of freedom? How will you feel that you are no longer irritated by external triggers? Is it possible that we can live a life where we are not disappointed by external things, unless disappointed by ourselves because our choices, our decisions, and our capacity that we did not utilize, that we know we have it? That's the only way you can be disappointed. Some people say they are disappointed in God. Well, I don't know. His thought is higher than our thoughts. His ways is higher than our ways. So you cannot from your lower self and be able to be disappointed with God. And I mean, if I've gotten to that state in your life, maybe you lost your mom, you lost your dad, or you lost a job, or something began to happen, you start questioning God and you say you are disappointed in God. You have been occupied by a certain belief and outcome and preferences. But let me tell you, some people has also gone through that lane, and yet they did not get into the lane you're going, but it was like a furnace that brought out the best of them, like purified their thought and shift their perspective and shift who they are. And they are now very pure. They have what they call the radiant intelligence that had brought them out of a feeble mental state to such a courageous mind that they can face anything in the world. And honestly, I sympathize with you, because if you don't have certain knowledge and enlightenment and your heart is illuminated, you're likely going to tread on that point of self-pity, and self-pity will drown you completely and erode all that you have believed. And so today, let's take it one by one. The preoccupation of belief. Belief is such thing that we don't pay attention with. And it's so cardinal. I mean, it changes my entire myself completely. Whether it's in my finance, I mean, first of all, about myself, what do you believe about yourself? You know, people don't have a system or a standard with which they measure what they believe about themselves. Like, for instance, I believe about myself, one of the things I believe about myself, that no matter what, my hair will grow again. I believe that I'm a healer. I believe that I'm a creator. I believe that I'm an illuminator. I believe that I'm an enricher. I believe that I'm an unlocker. I believe that I'm an enlightener. I believe that I'm a builder. You see, your belief would determine how you interpret, interface, and relate with external triggers or external things or people. So question yourself, what do you believe about yourself? It's not what the world has presented. It's not the standard the world has presented. What do you believe about yourself? And to the extent you will go in life, whether you're going to enjoy your relationship with your God, you're going to enjoy a relationship with yourself, you're going to enjoy a relationship with people, your bosses, your brothers and sisters, and the whole world, is a function of the belief about yourself. What do you believe about yourself? When I read that scripture in Mark chapter 9, it's 22 years. It said, if you believe, all things are possible. Meaning that the possibility or the reality that you are experiencing right now is embedded on your belief structure. Is the catalyst, is really the thing, is the cause to every effect that you see. Don't look at the effect, look at the cause. The causation is the key central thing. And the first thing is believe. A guy was somewhere for 38 years. And he believed that he needed a man. And eventually he got a man. But it took him 38 years. But you see, he believed there and he stayed there. He didn't believe that there's an other alternative. So he was influenced by that single thing. And he attracted a man who came. It was a man that eventually came to him, drawn to him. That's how powerful beliefs are. He believed that, and he was preoccupied by that. And that means that as long as this person is concerned, there is no other way. And some of us are trapped in the same space. I meet people, and the first thing you say, oh, I have an idea, but I don't have a person who can help me. Oh. And I go, how? Because beliefs is B. That's like is a state that you have acquired. And that is the momentum your life will drive in. Oh, Patrick, you make it so sound easy. Life is not complex. Life is easy. But because we like complexity, because we don't realize, I say that like life is realization, not experience. Once you are realized like a certain truth and you recognize that truth, it becomes your responsibility to utilize that truth, to become that truth. then you talk about the relationship with the truth. I can tell you an example. For instance, I don't believe that for any reason I will be poor or go down. Because down is part of life. So when you're afraid to go down, how can you not go down in life? Because down is part of the movement of up. So when people are so preoccupied with top, it's because they are afraid to go down. Now, we are not afraid to go down because down is a place like a ninth place of recreation. It's like somebody losing a job and you think that that's your end. How can losing a job be your end? No, it can't be. What is happening is a belief. Now, if you believe yourself that you're a creator of job, you create another job. You know how people resign and say, oh, I've tried this. The underneath is that they have a certain belief that have preoccupied their mind. That's how life functions. And it's how they see life. It's how they define life. Let me give an instance. Let's say, for instance, right, you have always believed there is no job, and for any job you are going to get, you have to know somebody. And say, they are submitting application to a certain organization. I don't know anybody. You resigned. What happened? You have been preoccupied by a certain belief structure that you need to know somebody before you can be gainfully employed. Another person said, hey, I don't know. I need to cast my bread upon many waters. I really don't know which one will blossom. What if I give it a try? And suddenly I don't know anybody, I don't need to know anybody, but I have my faith. And another one said, don't fool yourself. They have already preoccupied that job. It's been assigned. It's just formality. The same guy, the same person, you know that he or she do not have half of what you know, but yet has his belief rooted that the earth can favor me. And that belief formed the momentum with which that person applied to the job. And eventually she got the job. He said, hey, don't tell me that. It's the same thing that happened maybe like a female in an organization who understands she's a creator. And who should, you know what, I have my dignity here, who has set a standard of dignity and of hard work, of creativity, of understanding norms and orders and compliances in an organization, and began to say, the day I joined this organization, you know what, I'm going to rise to the top and acquire the nature of the top and began to function from where he or she is. He said, no, it's a woman power. When she started ascending to that higher level. No, he tell you, hey, my morality cannot be questioned. He's not even going to look at other people because the belief structure. I tell you something. I got a job. And when I got this job, when I saw that job, I knew that this job will advance me to the global community. Just by my sense and my divine intuition and that spirit guard voices that had always led me. As I got in there, there was nothing that resembled global family there. But in my inner knowing, in my connection to my deeper self, I have told you that there's a greater you that you have not accessed, that is larger, that is wider, that is bigger. That's why we say greater is he that is in me than he that is in the world. When you begin to have deeper relationship, one of the things it does, you live a life of inclusivity, not exclusivity. You live a life of intuition. You live a life of divine instruction. You live a life of inspiration, not motivation. You now live a life of instruction. And when that instruction comes in, you will know. So instantly, I knew that this office, do not look at it. I mean, it didn't have any resemblance. 6 months, there was no salary. I could remember some of my colleagues say, what do you see in this organization? I say, this organization is larger than we think it is. Did it have a form? No form. What happened? There's a belief interlocking that I was preoccupied, that this belief would shape me. So I woke up. My boss wasn't even there. My boss, they were in Lagos. And I will wake up from my room, because my office now I made my office like the office of the organization. So I will come and take my bath. 7:30, I will report to work in my parlor. That's ownership. That's a belief structure. And honestly, I moved in that belief structure. That job exposed me. And eventually, I think the first time I ever, I can't remember now, I traveled to certain region of the world was through that job. In fact, the job exposed me till today. I mean, I've been in several parts of the world. Who would have ever believed that was possible? Maybe divinely, my belief system was aligning to a certain force of creation, what we call it light of creation. And it was in that light of creation that could expand the organization. That's the potency of belief system. I've heard people believe that they will never be ill, and sickness never come to their life. I mean, I like a gentleman, one of our founding father of faith in part of our region of the world I come to. I like about him, rugged, and people are making that same reference he has made. I can't be poor, but they are poor. Only in concert, because there are responsibility that must align. There's attitude of the mind that are aligned to the strong belief system. And you see, belief is not passive. Belief is actionable. It dictates your action. It dictates your feelings. It begins to realign yourself completely, like wholly. What belief is preoccupying your mind? I mean, I said this, like people fell in relationship, especially, because we come with several belief. Let's say, for instance, okay, you believe that men must pay rent because your dad has paid rent and your brother paid rent. But you have the capacity. God has placed you better than your husband in terms of financial disposition. So now your friends, for some strange reason, their husband's pay rent, pay school fees. Now you say, I don't know how they say this in pidgin English. I call my own differently. I don't know how to put it, but I wanted to use our local to express it. Is my own different? Why should I carry this burden? Why? Why is my own different? And you now putting pressure on your husband, whose financial state You can improve by a support system. You say, oh, men are useless or some sort of thing. No, there's a responsibility. Now you are governed by a belief system that you have not upgraded. Any day you change, you know what? I am blessed of the Lord. And you change that belief. You say, what? I can't stay here and see my husband suffer. The moment that belief system changes, it will introduce a different level of progression in your life. But unless you change that belief, it will stunt you. When you come back, you are misery. You are complaining. Complaining is a function of a preoccupied belief system. That things that do not align to that belief system is why we hurt. It's why we feel under deserved, like, oh, I don't deserve this. You see, belief is such a fundamental key that can drive your freedom or can put you in prison. And I feel most of us, all of us are in prison because we have one belief that has sabotaged our advancement. I can't stay here for too long because of time. But I'm saying, please check what belief preoccupied your day in terms of your finance, your relationship, your parenting, your leadership, your relationship with God and relationship with others. You know, there are people, they will never be generous to people because they believe that people are wicked and don't deserve generosity, especially if for any reason they have been kind to people and people treated them badly or reward them with unkindness. And we say here, you're not kind until you are kind to the unkind. So what happened? That situation has revealed the person you are. You are unkind, but because you have, or thought because you have, you want to give to people, and now that they don't, they didn't respect you, they didn't honor it well. It's like, you know how people will give people maybe like a shoe or clothing, and they see them wear the cloth in a certain way. Does he even know how much I bought that? Oh, I can't give my head to swans or to people who drag it to mud. Now you are creating a belief system that will alter your liberal life into stagnation, into stinginess. And when things start changing, you'll be wondering what happened. Is the belief that you have altered. And I invite every one of us to step up your belief. Do a check about all kinds of belief that you have. That's why let's talk about expectation. And I mean, I get into trouble when people say, should I not have an expectation? And I said, unless the expectation is inward. Every external expectation is constructing you, is building it, is like setting you up for failure. How do you mean, Patrick? Expectation is controlling life. That's what it means. What does that mean? And people say, okay, what if I do a business with some company? Should I not have an expectation? What if the company run into debt and they are legally broken because they also have made up a Waterloo because they had done business with also a client and the client is bankrupt? That's why life is faith. Life means that I have no concept, I have no idea. It is idea and concept. That is what regiment us, that put us into rigid expectations. I mean, I'm not even going to talk about it because there are controllable things and there are uncontrollable things. The things that we can control is our perspective and definition of things. our thought about things, our belief about things, our emotional relationship with things, and our expression in terms of our attitude, in terms of manner and character. That's what we have control. Patrick, so I'm a leader. Am I not going to expect my colleague to conform to a certain standard? Even in this generation where we are so self-centered, what if there are people who are designed to sabotage you? Yes, there are people who get into organization with an intention. Maybe your competitors can infiltrate into your space, and if you are not sensible to be able to guard against your heart, your position can infiltrate opposing factor, and you will see them, they are quite different. And you expect such a person who has been remotely engaged. Have you not seen how people slaughter their boss? And you expect people who do not have the same value system, who do not have the same exposure that you have, who do not have the kind of religious background that you have, or the standard. You remember where we said the standard. Now there's a conflict of standard. And that's where expectation is a trap. Because honestly, I mean, I've given people money. I lend them money. And what governs actions are motive and intention. Let me say that again. What governs action are motive and intention. Now, you see, our purpose, like, okay, the reason why we are doing something may be agreeable, but the unseen driver to the performance of that agreement is a function of intention and motive, which most often are not revealed. So people come and tell you, okay, you know what? This guy, what's he doing with his money? Let us go and have access. They pretended and preoccupied by deception. And you, in your vulnerability and in your niceness, you pity them or you have empathy on them. Now you are functioning from a spirit that says, oh no man, nothing but love, which is a standard that governs your relationship with an agreement. So you're seeing yourself from their own, you're seeing people from the eye of who you are, from your standard, from your convictions, from your belief system. So you are so convinced that they are going to reciprocate. Meanwhile, they are opposing ideas, constructs. Everything is different. I mean, I've been really, so I lend people money before. Then I was expecting to be nice because I was nice to them. Not everybody is nice. Not everybody is good. So if you're a good tree, you will produce a good fruit. What if another person is a bad tree? Can a bad tree now expect, or good tree expect the bad tree to produce? It's more likely like orange tree is expecting mango tree to produce after their kind. And that's why so what do I need to do? Before you engage, understand that anything can happen. And that's why we say outcome is what? A gift. And if your expectation causes you, people have taken their life because of the expectation was not met by their parents or by government or even football club. You know how people expect their club to win or their nation to win and they don't win. Are you the one playing the match? What if bettors have gone to bribe them and pay them more money, and now you are loyal to your club? Meanwhile, there is an underneath motive and intention that the player they are playing with, and you put your money and say, hey, they disappointed me. Every disappointment is a function of expectation, because now you have been preoccupied by a certain level of expectation. So, Patrick, what are you saying? Expectation, for me, this is my opinion, please. I feel that expectation is funded by weakness. If you are robust in mind, you know that you can, if I give something, I can recreate it. You know, our Lord Jesus Christ said, you know what, destroy this temple in 3 days, I will rebuild it. That's a mental capacity that will tell you, hey, you can do whatever you need to do, but hey, I have the capacity to redefine it. And that is the definition. That's why we're talking about definition of life. Have you noticed that majority of the time your expectation costs you pain? And people will always come crashing over that expectation. Let's analyze it. We're so preoccupied by expectation. Oh, my husband, I expect you to do that. What? A man that is like a puff of air? Especially people who have no regulated personal laws, value system, virtues, principles, who have not found truth, and you expect such people? Hey, it's a beautiful thing to live without expectation, and I think that's the true faith. If you replace expectation, or some people say, oh, the expectation of the righteous man. Who is a righteous man? A righteous man shall live by faith. What does faith mean? I have no idea. I live as if my prayer has been answered. That's what faith means. It's not hope. You know, people mistaking hope. True hope is now, not in the future. Because we don't live in the future. These are tough truths. But if you live this thing, not only you live a life of freedom, you find your peace, you find stability, you find harmonization around here, and the tranquility. You know, it's just free. I mean, sometimes, you know, you're going to your house, and the security man, you expect the security man to be here, and you get angry. That security man is also a human being. He just says, oh God, I just went to buy airtime. I was even going to call you, but I didn't have, because, the light was not, so I went to buy. You say, oh, you should know, I didn't know that you are coming. It's not your time to come. Just have an open mind. He may be there, he may not be there. You see how flexibility of mind give you the audacity to control life. I mean, from your engagement rather than being engaged. Let's step up to the trap of outcome. Outcome have ruined people, have ruined marriages, have ruined parenting, have ruined spiritual gurus. Because you know how you have planned for a program. 250 will appear. You have got a hall of 300. You have hired seats of 300. You have probably bought drinks, and you get to the hall. 10 years or 6 months of planning, you get irritated. It's outcome. It's outside your control. What's within your control is that you have planned, you have been inspired, you are prepared, you have done it. That's where your reward ends. How many people that will attend is outside your control. I read a scripture how a man has invited the guests, everybody. Everybody had one excuse. Oh, I'm going to bury my father. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. I'm going to do that. You know how to say, okay, well, outcome is a gift. Don't be preoccupied with an outcome. You see, don't I have a sense of how things should be? As long as you do not attach on how the outcome will appear. Do you understand? The problem is attachment of energy to an outcome. That's what hurt. You may have an idea like, okay, I'm expecting 500 people, so you plan with that 500. It gives you, but don't think that, don't get emotional about it. That is the problem. Because you have no control of everybody. You don't have control of the vehicle might park on the road. You don't have control of the weather. You don't have control of emergencies. Even them there you have confirmed. You call them. Oh, outcome. You've done your exam. You finished it. You touched emotion. That's what breaks us down. Every time you're angry, every time you're irritated, every time you are depressed, it is a result of a preoccupation of belief, expectation, and outcome. You attach so much significance to the outcome and not the process. I like to prepare well. I like to do my part. Of course, I heard it that every good gift and perfect gift come from above, from the Father of life, in whom there is no variableness, neither shadow of turning. And I read a scripture that promotion do not come from the east, nor from the west. But we know the scriptures, but we don't modify it and believe it and have an open heart. Now let's take the final one, which is the killer of all. The prison, the occupation of preferences. This is the war. This is the war. You get into a restaurant, you have preoccupied with a preference, how they should treat you. In your imagination, they also have their own preferences in their own imagination. And where you are now going to judge, you are going to see, you're going to define by the preference on your head, and it becloud your sense of reasoning. So you do not have that open mind to understand that other people have their preferences, whether it's in relationship, especially in parenting. And parenting is so hard these days because of the exposure of children to what we call radiant intelligence. Their curiosity is so stainless. So they are not attached to histories or experiences that you're telling them. You are coming from the place of experiences and history. They are coming from a place of blue ocean ideas. And you're telling them this is how to dress. They will tell you, hey, ma'am, that's your time. You say, what effrontery? So you see the clash of preferences, and now that's where force and control comes in. Where there's force and control, there's a tension, and with the tension, there's no harmony, and where there's no harmony, there's no honor, and when there's no honor, there's no happiness. And this is something you need to understand. You are disappointed in life because of preferences. You are irritated in life because of preferences, and that's why leaders are getting into tension. In fact, men are dropping dead now because of the load of preferences, how they should be treated, especially in terms of honor. They did not honor me well. That's their preference. Drop it, girl, guy. You are honor. Honor is an expression of who you are. It is not what to attain. It's not what to achieve. Honor is who you are, that you express is how you treat people, how you deal with people, how you deal with issues. It is those expression that you give out. That's what comes back to you. We all think that give shall be given unto you is a sense of money or gift. No. It means that if I give honor, honor is not what to attain or what to it's not a reputation. Of course, it's outside your own. Honor is a life that you give to people. That's how they give you over. But they don't understand. No. You cannot also lower yourself. I cannot treat somebody who dishonor from the place of dishonor. That means I have transformed myself into dishonor. The preoccupation of preferences is a killer. Drop your preference. You find freedom. Does that mean I shouldn't have? Understand is your preference. You can't force it. And what is forced is when you are irritated by an action of other people who also have preference. What I always said in my corner is, I don't speak like I know it. I speak from what I experienced that have catalyzed me and have moved me strongly into freedom, into owning my life, and effortless living. And what we talk about, the divine grace, where you are nothing but you are filled. How do I do this? It is so difficult to live an empty life. Nobody wants to approach life from the place of emptiness. But if you are not empty, you are preoccupied. And preoccupation is slavery. That's why we are damaged. That's why we are discouraged. That's why we are frustrated. That's why we are discouraged and depressed. In fact, depression, go and check this thing we are talking about, whether it is belief system, whether it's expectation, whether it's outcome, attachment to outcome, setting a specific way the outcome should come, or whether it's a preference. These four cardinal preoccupations, if you can take time, analyze them, not because I said them, all I have done is to open it up so that we begin to ask yourself, why am I irritated? Why am I angry? Why was I disappointed? Why am I in this misery? Those things are the effects of preoccupation. And honestly, I am willing to engage people so that we can take it on a personal level. We'll be able to analyze it, of course, because of time, and I can't deal with it. I talk about it from general point of view. But I desire people to come up. We have good interaction, good experiment, good exploration, so we can explore some of these things and practice them. Patience, practice, and presence are so important in life, because what awareness does is, when you have a truth, you become aware of the truth. When you're aware of the truth, what it does, it empties you out from the old. I invite you to a life of emptiness. That's where freedom comes in. And you know why? That's why I say, blessed are the poor, for they shall see God. Emptiness is where God lives. And that's why the guy who wanted to inherit said, go, sell, and give to the poor. I invite you to a life of emptiness so that you're not preoccupied, but you live by faith. Thank you so much. We are, by tomorrow, check us online. We're doing what we call release. It's part of the preoccupation. We'll be able to release you and give you insight about your unconscious conflict within your heart. We're able to bring you into consciousness so that all the sabotaging agent within you will strip you out and pack them out. Thank you so much. See you next Friday. I love you all.